Welcome back to Square Off. Reporters get this question a lot. Why do Republican lawmakers pass bills that will get them sued? Doesn't somebody tell them they could be unconstitutional? 3 bills on the governor's desk right now are a signature away from becoming law and could face legal challenges. That bill I mentioned earlier with Julie Gunnigal, banning abortion after 15 weeks of pregnancy. Courts have held that states can't ban abortion before about 24 weeks. 2 bills targeting young people who are transgender. One would bar transgender girls from school sports. The other would limit gender-affirming medical care for a transgender child under 18. How do bills that might have legal problems make it all the way to the governor's desk and even into law and then to the courts? Rachel Leingang and Hank Stephenson are both experienced Arizona journalists, co-founders of the daily Arizona Agenda newsletter. Find it at arizonaagenda.com. Welcome back to Square Off.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, and you guys do a great public service from time to time by explaining how stuff like this works. So, Hank, I'll start with you. You explained this week why constitutional conservatives at the Capitol so often ignore the Constitution. What was your inspiration for that piece?
There was a bill that went through this week banning filming police within 8 feet of a police officer unless the police officer gives you permission, which is an absurd thing to think that they'll do in the moment. Those kind of videos have been, key to police accountability over the years, and the lawyers at the legislature have thrown up red flags about this bill, but it hasn't slowed it down at all.
So let's talk about those lawyers, because there's a committee many people don't know about. It's the Rules Committee. Both the Senate and the House have one. And these are the people who are supposed to throw up the red flags. How does that work?
They often do throw up red flags. There are attorneys at the Rules Committee, which is made up of members of each party in the House and Senate. And those lawyers will often say, this may be unconstitutional. And pretty much they get passed anyway. For those attorneys, it's a frustrating but common experience from what they've said, and it's a part of the process that can't be ignored. I mean, lawmakers should know if they're going to get into lawsuits, but it often doesn't play into whether they approve a law or not.
So go a little deeper on that. Do they say this is unconstitutional, don't do it? Or something else?
It's an advisory sort of thing. So this may be unconstitutional based on, previous case law. Courts have said X, Y, Z. But like, any attorney, you could find a different one with a different opinion. And in some cases, the intent is to be sued on some of these issues.
And so can the public or reporters sit in on Rules Committee meetings or watch them on video? Are they public?
In the House, they're televised. In the Senate, you have to be there in person to watch it. They used to be televised in the Senate, but they no longer are.
So there were other bills this session that ran the red light, or maybe we should call it a yellow light, caution from the Rules Committee. Can you check off a few?
Yeah, there's one that should have been flagged by the attorneys was the precinct committeeman issue. The lawmakers went and changed a rule about how precinct committeemen get elected so that they no longer are elected for this election cycle. Caused a huge uproar within the GOP base. And the reason lawmakers said, oh, we didn't know what we were doing there. We're so sorry. We want to repeal it. The reason they didn't know what they were doing is they didn't send it through the Rules Committee. Eventually, that bill was struck down by a court saying it's unconstitutional. But had they gone through the regular process, lawmakers could have avoided this whole mess that really wasted a week and a half at the Capitol just talking about precinct committeemen.
Yeah.
There's also, as you mentioned, the trans kids and sports bills has thrown up some yellow flags from the constitutional attorneys. They say that, if we look around the nation at the other laws that are similar to this, they're not faring well. But it's not an area of settled constitutional law, so there may be some wiggle room. And that, a lot of times, is the point, is to kind of tinker with what's known to be constitutional and try something slightly different to see if you can get a different outcome.
And the Center for Arizona Policy has been notorious in the past for putting up unconstitutional bills with the hope they would end up in court. And so let's talk about that, Rachel, because several years ago, you tried to figure out how much this all costs, right? All these bills that you know or are warned are unconstitutional, pass them, they go to court. You need lawyers. How much does this cost us?
A ton, for sure. Very hard to tally because there's so many different ways you could look at it. But, taking a case to the Arizona Supreme Court is expensive. Taking it all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court, which some of these cases have ended up in, millions for sure. but kind of uncountably expensive for a party of small government.
All right. Hank Stephenson, Rachel Leingang, thanks so much for joining us.